Hey guys, Q here, and this time, as you can see by the title, this is a review, but at the same time, it's a bit different since I have a guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Laugh Now, Die Later. Thank you, Kiros, for having me on your channel today.
Alright, so the format's pretty simple. Just like any other one of my videos, I'll talk about the story and the characters, etc. But this time, let's say I finish talking about the story, or halfway through I talk about the story. I'll basically just ask him the same question: what he thinks about the story, what he likes, what he dislikes, and what he rate, and I'll think everything about that. And then vice versa until it finishes. So yeah, pretty simple. Just get straight into it. So yeah, as for the story, I really like the story for Downfall, which I completely forgot to say. That's like the name of the series I read. It's a pretty short story, and for its length, it's honestly very good. It tells really like heavy themes that not any series can really do. I think Asano really like specializes in that kind of darker tone series, and the way he talks about like if you pursue your goals too much, you'll lose the people around you is really great. Before I keep going, do you have anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I just want to say this was my first Asano work, and I was really surprised. Like, I knew it was something depressing because you can tell from like the cover. This guy's looking down, it's really dark and everything. But I was not expecting what I got from it. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of great themes that comes out of this manga.
Yeah, I definitely you can draw similarities to like Boom Boom if you actually saw them. Especially when it comes to the art, obviously. But as far as like eight chapter stories go, or like below 10 chapters, it generally does like a really good job at it. And I honestly was surprised by like how good it was with its length. I said this before with three Days of Happiness, but when it comes to series that are like that short, especially first of all, I don't expect it to be that good since it's only 8 chapters, and I like my series like around 100 or more, because it gives it time. But at the same time, this story doesn't really have any. It doesn't feel really like stretched out or like condensed. It feels like it ended at the right time. Could it have had an extra chapter or two? Sure, but it wasn't really like a super necessity that it would have made the series a lot better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was one of those stories where it was like it left you wanting more, but not in a bad way. It was just such a great story. I wish it was more chapters, because I'm the type that, especially with this type of story, maybe it being longer wouldn't help it, only because it would be a little too depressing. Like, personally, I haven't read Poon Poon yet, but I heard that's a pretty depressing story, and it's like what, 7 volumes. So like, if this story would have been any longer, like, and like you said, like probably like less than 100, but like maybe like 60 chapters, it probably would have got really depressing. So I'm happy it is 1 volume, but it did leave me wanting more, only because there were some time skips, and I wish like we would have seen what happened in between, you know?
Yeah, I do feel like it kind of suffered from it only being 8 chapters, which is realistically going to happen with any series. I was about to check, but Poon Poon is like around 140 chapters, so probably at least 10 volumes, but I'm not sure. So I didn't want to correct you there in the middle of it, but yeah. Honestly, as far as its length goes, it's great. I don't really see any. I can't really have any complaints with it, except the fact that like we kind of didn't get to see who was in the middle. Also, Poon Poon does have like some similar scenes, I guess. Like, for example, there's like a small bit of the manga where he also delves into like manga, but in a different way than he does, and it's a bit less darker, I guess. He has a different like take on it,
Yeah.
Do you have anything
What I like,
less? What were you gonna say?
yeah, what I like is like, if you have you ever read like Bakuman?
No, I was planning to soon.
Okay, so like the thing about Bakuman, right, is that that's like a lighthearted story that teaches you a lot about the industry, right? There it does teach you about people failing in the industry, but what I like about Downfall is that Downfall makes it so much more realistic, because let's be honest, like, it's depressing when you put your work, like, you have a series, especially like the main character, he had a series for so long, and like, for him, the series didn't end with the numbers that he expected it to. And it's like, that was kind of depressing because the last volume didn't do as well as he hoped. And also it shows the struggles of how hard it is to even come up with another story and lives up to the previous story that you had that was popular. Because sometimes, for example, like, let's say Oda finished One Piece tomorrow, right? And like, he makes another series, he's gonna have a lot of pressure, right? And you got that with the main character, where he had a lot of pressure on himself to try to start another story, but at the same, and it took him almost 2 years. So yeah.
Was it 2 years? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 years that took him to like even start the next series, and I just found that interesting. Like the time skips didn't like just like they were pretty good time skips. They came at good moments. Like it wasn't like just abrupt like oh like 3 years later. Nah, it was good. It was spaced out really well for like the 8 chapters that it was. You know.
Yeah, I'd definitely say it handles like, especially when like you consider how he put his all into the manga, and it didn't even do as good as other mangas might. And I guess it also can show like how important a supporting figure is damn I mess it up a lot. How so good like a supporting figure can be for someone, especially with like the social media girl, I forgot her name. That like always supported him no matter what. Like she said, take your time, it's fine, we'll support you no matter what. You can really see how that was like basically what like he was clinging to. And I can really see if it hadn't been for them, it would have been like such a worse like situation for him. And them meeting, honestly, a beautiful moment. I really couldn't expect it more. The way they kind of like both saved themselves, I thought was really great. Do you have anything you want to like mention about the story? You want to get like into the characters?
Um, what I want to say too is that you really see how hard it is to be a mangaka even more in this story, especially in the fact of being in a relationship, because you notice the relationship he had with his wife, who also was in the same industry as an editor. They didn't spend any time together, man. Like their
Yeah.
marriage was so it was just really hard to read because it's like this guy just wanted his wife to just sit down and listen to him sometimes. Sometimes he just wanted to have conversations with his wife, and it just didn't work out because she was too focused on her job and the mangakas that she edited for, and it was just hard time for him to really let his emotions out, and that's why he would hire these social media girls to hang out with him and all that, and they gave him the attention he needed, but I felt like he still had a void. There was still a void in him because at the end of the day, those aren't his. That's not who he's in love with. Well, was in love with, because you can tell towards the ending, maybe he had some type of love for his wife, but that relationship was already broken. But it tackles a lot of different dark themes. The how dark or how difficult the industry really is. How hard it is to be a professional in such a hard industry and be in a relationship and a marriage. It's hard. It just shows a lot of different elements to life when it comes to especially this manga industry. So yeah.
Yeah, like especially since like you can really tell I'm pretty sure they even stated this. Like they didn't even marry because they loved each other. It's more because like they needed to, or like they felt like it. And they really like it's bad when all he wanted was to have a conversation with his own wife, which realistically should be like what common standpoints, something that everyone should have. Well, if you have a wife, everything, something you should have. But and he that's all he wanted, right? He wanted someone to talk to. He wanted attention. He wanted someone to like have a shoulder to lean on. He wanted something like that, And the fact that he couldn't even get that can really like show, I guess, like he put too much into the manga. I know that came out of nowhere, but he put so much into the manga that they didn't even realize that they were like separating, and they didn't even realize that until like it was kind of too late for them, right?
Yeah. But over. What's up?
Now continue.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and that's like how he basically got into the whole situation with the online girl. I think it was Chifuyu. How like she was basically the kind of light that she needed. She gave him the attention he needed, the love he needed, everything. Like yeah, he did have to like pay her, but he still felt like that was natural. And was it natural? Maybe not. It's not really confirmed. Probably not, since like they didn't talk anymore. But still, it was great. I definitely feel like if they had talked over it would have been like a lot better. So I guess it kind of also shows like what a lack of communication or a lack of a shoulder to lean on can do to a person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to talk about, like the characters or anything like that?
I would say that one thing that was really interesting to me, when it comes to like, I guess you could say when it comes to like a character, not necessarily like in a story, but like as a human character, right? A lot of times people go through things and they put like a smile on the outside when in the inside they're kind of hurting, because there was a scene where he went to like I believe it was one of his friends' a wedding, right? And like he had one close friend that he was telling everything to, but like in reality, no one really understood what was going on with him. And at the same time, with the girl you mentioned before, the online girl, the one that like tweeted him and told him like, "Don't worry, we'll support you." Like she mentioned at the end that like he's like a god to her. Like she literally said that like you're like a god to me, and like she doesn't realize what this man went through those 2 years before he released that new manga. But to her, he's like perfect because he made a manga that saved her life basically. And it just goes to show like how sometimes people hide their true emotions to the people on the outside. Um, yeah, that so, and also I think there was another scene where in the beginning where like when his manga ended, his first manga ended, and he went to like they had like an event for him, and like everyone was just on their phones while he was giving his speech, and I just found that like that's really hard because it's like that was like hard to read as well because it's like no one cared, you know. They were just there because they had to be, because that was just something that they had to do to just show face in the industry, you know, and that was kind of rough.
Yeah, I especially remember that scene where he like had to go up to take a speech, where theoretically with presumably any other person, people would have been paying attention, like talking, or at least they would have been looking at him. But in this situation, they're all on their phones, they didn't care. That even like I'm pretty sure he even says that like kind of hurt him. The fact that like nobody really cared about that scene. Also later on, the girl that says like he's like a god to her. Like he also, I don't even know if he does or not, but I'm pretty sure he does mention that like had it not been for her support or something, he probably couldn't have made it. And the way that like both kind of needed each other, I feel like that was a really great contrast to the series. Probably the only like positive kind of like tone thing that kind of happened. Not saying it had a like it was a bad thing, but like it was like the more only happy thing that happened in the whole series, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
I also want to say, typical of any like Asano art, any Asano work, the art was also like phenomenal, especially for 8 chapters. There's a lot of very memorable panels or widespreads. The way he like portrays emotion is really well. Do you want to like talk about some like the themes or the art or anything?
I just gotta say, like I mentioned before, like this was my first work from Inyo Asano, so I did hear that like Poon Poon, for example, had like some good artwork and all that. But when I read Downfall, man, I was not expecting what I had gotten in this manga. The artwork in this is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. There was some panels here, especially with the snow. It was just the way Asano also draws like just like people in the background that are like walking in the street, and he just puts detail into them as well. Like that just amazed me because, like I mentioned, this was my first work, so I heard his artwork was great, but I didn't expect it to be this freaking good, man. Like I really was amazed by the artwork, and I'm really looking forward to reading more Asano works because if his other works are just as good as this, man, like this guy may be one of like my favorite artists.
The only other Asano work I read was Poon Poon. That was honestly phenomenal. And most of the time, I'm not even a fan of like more depressing series, but I can't even deny it was just great. As you said earlier, the like any panel with snow basically was just really well, probably the best in that series. I was gonna talk more about Asano and like Poon Poon and all that, but I don't want to get too sidetracked since this isn't even a video on Poon Poon. We can talk about that after though. Also, the themes, we've mentioned this a few times throughout, but like, for example, the theme of like needing a shoulder to lie on or like lean on, or for example, like the theme of, if you work too hard to your dreams, you may lose someone, or like maybe not like them dying, but you also like might lose their connection or how important they are to you, so like you may push them away instead of like making them happy or something by you completing your dream,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was really well. I think the themes, especially, I preferred at least when it comes to themes, I definitely preferred it over Poon Poon, because yes, Poon Poon does have some good themes, but like this has like some more pronounced themes. Personally, like I can directly say, oh, this is the themes that they're talking about, and yeah, it's just a really great manga for only 8 chapters that I honestly could recommend to anyone who likes mangas of that level of caliber, or I guess that style, which is a bit more depressing,
Yeah, for sure. But I will also say really quickly, if you are under a certain age, I don't know how old, just be careful because there's some adult scenes in this. So if you can get in trouble from parents or something for reading this, then yeah, this definitely has some scenes that are for adults. But other than that, I mean, this manga is just really, really good for what it is. You know, it tells a good story. Despite it only being 8 chapters, it really kept my attention throughout. And it really just had me empathize more for mangaka as well, because when I read, like I mentioned before, I read Bakuman. That helped give me like a respect towards mangaka, and because I never really knew the process, and this also made me empathize with mangakas as well, because they really go through, like, some of them go through situations just like the main character of Downfall. You know, some of them, for example, like Kishimoto, I don't know if he went through the same thing, but the guy who made Naruto, right? He recently had, about a year ago, a manga that got canceled, or called Samurai 8. You know, you went from being really, really well-known mangaka who made one of the big 3 in shonen to making a manga that for many people wasn't the best, and it ended up getting canceled by Shonen Jump. And you know, that happens in the industry, and Downfall really opened my eyes to that reality as well. It's not always rainbows and sunshines. It could get really dark and gloomy at times as well. But it really made me sympathize with manga at times.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I haven't read Bakuman, but like just from the covers and what like the art I've seen, I guess like Bakuman takes like a more lighthearted approach. Not lighthearted, but it's more happy. It shows more of the good things. I'm presuming, right? I'm just assuming. And then like Downfall has more like the darker sides of the whole industry. Also, again, as I mentioned, 8 chapters, great. You can probably like draw similarities to Bakuman and how like they handle like the manga industry. It's probably a bit different since I could presume Bakuman focuses more on the whole process of making the manga, and Downfall focuses more on the actual mangaka themselves. Is what I would personally say. I still need to read Bakuman. I've heard great things. Do you have any closing like statements you want to say before we like end the video?
Yeah, all I gotta say is, guys, if you've never read Downfall, please do. Again, it's only 8 chapters. It's literally one book, one volume. It's about $15. You could probably see if you could find it cheaper online. So it's cheap, and for $15 you get a really dope story that really shows you the truth of the manga industry. Like, it's not, like I mentioned before, it's not all rainbows and sunshines. It's a tough industry, and you really gotta. It's a really tough industry that can really make you spiral and with emotions. It could really bring you some of the best moments in your life when you succeed, but it could also put you at your lowest if you fail. So that really is what it opened my eyes to, and I think if you want to read this as your first Inyo Asano work as well, definitely I would say give it a shot. The artwork's fantastic, and the story just really, really opened my eyes to the world of manga even more. So I really do appreciate what Asano was trying to do with this story. And yeah, again, thank you, Kira, for having me in this video.
Yeah, as you said, I definitely say, like, if you haven't read a single Asano work, I definitely say this is the series to get into. Not because it's better than Pum Pum, but because it's a very like Asano manga. I haven't read more than like 2 works of him. But actually I think it's 3 because I completely forgot about Girl in the Shore. But as I'm saying, say you don't like read Downfall. If you like the themes or the tone or the style, then yeah, go on to Pum Pum, or don't touch a Girl in the Shore for legal purposes. But what I'm trying to say is, I'd say Downfall is a great gateway manga into Asano's other works, which are honestly great for the most part. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's it for the video. Do you have anything else you want to say before I end it?
Yeah, again, thanks for having me, Kira. I really enjoyed doing this video with you. Guys, definitely read Downfall for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This was Laughnowdielater.
Alright, yeah, that's basically the end of the video. If you liked, let me know what you thought down below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and peace.